Have you ever gone to a big fancy bank just to be stuck with an automated machine that didn't even work? Is that so-called convenience really worth the frustration? At some point or another, everyone goes to a bank, whether it's to get some cash or go apply for a loan. With the rising cost of tuition, there's a good chance students will borrow money for school. I've been a customer of a local bank for over 10 years now. I have to say, you couldn't pay me to go to a larger bank. At the current time, I'm actually employed at the bank in which I'm a customer. Given my situation, I've been able to see the benefits of local banks from both points of view, the customer and the bank. Many people will come to realize the frustrations involved with larger banks and the advantages the smaller local banks have to offer. The time we have together, I'd like to show you how choosing a smaller bank will greatly enhance your banking experience. I will discuss the disadvantages of large banks as well as the many advantages of smaller banks. First off, I would like to discuss the problems regarding big banks. Big banks are sometimes considered too big to fail, yet they have their share of disadvantages. Major banks such as JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo have huge amounts of assets that it seems impossible for them to fail, yet they are in no way free of problems. An article in the Atlantic magazine entitled "The Real Reason Big Banks Have So Many Scandals," published July 27, 2012, states that large banks are often involved in scandals. These scandals are results of illegal, dishonest, and stupid behavior on account of the bank. Many customers choose to go to larger banks solely for convenience. Large banks tend to have more branches and extended hours. The so-called convenience can come at a price. Customer service at larger banks is far less personal than at smaller banks. At many large banks, customers are seen as more or less just a number, and will receive less customer service depending on the type of account they hold. Large banks are less likely to have that personal touch and interaction with customers. Personal service often takes the back seat to other affairs within larger banks. If you were a bank customer, wouldn't you rather have a bank that shows you a little attention and that they actually care about your business? Another disadvantage of larger banks is that they often make customers change their accounts if and when they relocate. What a headache, right? Blake Ellis, a writer for CNN Money, states in his February 27, 2012 article, "More Customers Leaving Big Banks," that the majority of people leaving big banks are saying that they have received poor customer service at those banks. Bigger banks are less likely to work with customers on loans and small business accounts. Alan Berger, a writer for the Journal of Banking and Finance, notes in a 2011 edition of the Journal of Banking and Finance, large banks tend to specialize in lending to large businesses. Major banks focus primarily on credit scores when deciding upon those loan requests. Big banks are often not willing to provide student loans. If and when they do provide a student loan, they see the borrower simply as a chance to make money. Customers may find themselves paying an outrageous amount of fees at larger banks. Many bigger banks will even go as far as to charge customers when they visit with an actual teller once or twice a month. Blake Ellis also mentions in his article how customer revolt against big banks really became heated when Bank of America proposed a monthly fee for debit card use last fall. Do you think it would be fair to pay fees just to get hold of your own money? Overall, there are usually more fees involved with bigger banks. After all, they didn't get as big as they are by doing things for free. In review, big banks have more money than small banks, yet they have their share of problems. Customer service and the amount of fees involved with large banks are resulting in customers leaving those big banks. Now that we have learned some downsides of large banks, next let's see what makes smaller banks much more inviting. Smaller banks often produce a much more enjoyable customer experience. The main advantage to small banks is that customer service is more personal. Many customers find they may have a better chance of receiving a loan through a smaller bank. Local banks tend to invest in small businesses, which in turn is an investment in their community. Small businesses, which create the majority of new jobs, depend heavily on local banks for financing. To put it briefly, local banks are oriented to the needs of each individual as well as their community as a whole. I've just mentioned some reasons why smaller banks are better fit for customers. Next, I would like to give you a more detailed insight to why those reasons are important. The customer experience of a small bank goes above and beyond that of a larger bank. At smaller banks, you're more likely to work with an actual person. They are generally more willing to work with you if you have a problem with an account. Within a smaller bank, you'll find genuine personal attention and a stronger connection between bank employee and customer. I personally believe that customer service is a top concern when it comes to the value of one's overall banking experience. Many smaller banks address customers by name because they have developed a personal relationship and treat customers as more than just a number. Alan Klein, a writer for the American Banker periodical, states in the May 2012 edition that customer service is the main advantage that small banks have when it comes to competing with larger banks. Another article, this one in the Chicago Tribune, entitled Crowning a Banking Champ by Gregory Karp, published October 21, 2011, mentions that customer service is a category that is dominated by smaller banks. During the loan process in a smaller bank, you will more likely speak with the actual person making the decision on a loan request. Employees of smaller banks are more willing to work with you after you receive a loan. Small banks tend to focus on relationship banking, basing their decisions on personal knowledge of a customer's creditworthiness. The overall loan process within a smaller bank is usually much quicker. Small banks want your first loan experience to be a good one so you will come back to them with any future loan needs. Small banks, unlike large banks, are often more willing to help out students. Small banks willing to provide student loans to support education in their communities. Local hometown banks want to see students succeed in school as well as life. Students will find that smaller banks offer a more comfortable, supportive environment when it comes to borrowing money. Most banks are in fact small businesses. They understand the needs of small business owners. A large majority of loans from local banks goes to support local small businesses. Many smaller banks have a strong understanding of business conditions in their community. According to the article, Small Businesses Increasingly Turn to Small Banks for Loans, published July 11, 2012 by Nate Hindman of the Huffington Post, more and more small businesses are in fact turning to small banks for loans. Local banks are in business to support their local communities. Small banks are more involved in the local community and make efforts to get to know the residents of their town or city. After all, the bank would not exist without its community or its customers. Local banks tend to donate to various causes in their communities. Employees of small town banks show up to meet the financial needs of their community. Local banks are interested in growing the economy of the towns they serve. They are not working on trades or activities solely to benefit themselves. We have recently discussed the customer service provided by small banks far outpaces that of larger banks. Now that we have fully explored the benefits of small banks, let's discuss a plan for the future. The time is now to take action. I can't make anyone switch banks overnight. It is up to each individual to relieve themselves from the burdens of larger banks. Just ask yourself, what would you rather have? The so-called convenience of a big shot bank, or the personal one-on-one attention of a smaller local bank? Now that we have discussed the issues surrounding bank size, let's recap. I hope the time we have spent together has been helpful to you. I've done my best to explain the downfalls of large banks and the major advantages of small local banks. Now that I have explained the differences and make smaller banks a better fit for customers, I hope you all will make the wise choice that will greatly enhance your banking experience.